International Council for Human Rights, Arbitration, Politics and Strategic Studies. Politics and Strategic Studies. The International Council for Human Rights, Arbitration, Politics and Strategic Studies is an independent research institute and think tank for the study of history and social sciences, with particular emphasis on the applied social sciences. Through its academic and research activities, the ICHRAPS strives to foster communication between Arab intellectuals and specialists in the social sciences and humanities in general, to build synergies between them and their societal and national concerns, to network with Arab and international research centers and think tanks. These intellectual exchanges and interactions will be channeled through the process of research and critique, as well as the development of epistemological and conceptual tools and knowledge-building mechanisms. Moreover, the Center seeks to deliberate Arab societal concerns which call for further research, and to influence the public sphere. The ICHRAPS, while committed to advancing the Arab nations' causes, it does so by means of edification. It is not only based on the premise that progress does not contradict Arab culture and identity, but also on the fact that progress is not possible without the advancement of society and all its constituent groups, while respecting its historical circumstances, culture and language. Moreover, progress also necessitates the interaction of societies with other cultures. The ICHRAPS's paramount concern is the advancement of Arab societies and states, their cooperation with one another and issues concerning the Arab nation in general. To that end, it seeks to examine and diagnose the situation in the Arab world, states and communities, to analyze social, economic and cultural policies and to provide political analysis from an Arab perspective. It deals with the major challenges faced by the nation: citizenship and identity, fragmentation and unity, sovereignty and dependence, as well as scientific and technological stagnation. Furthermore, the ICHRAPS is concerned with studying the Arab world's relations with its immediate surroundings in Asia and Africa, as well as with American, European and Asian policies that have an impact on all its political, economic and media aspects. The attention paid by the ICHRAPS to the applied social sciences such as sociology, economics, cultural studies and political science does not constitute an obstacle to theoretical issues and concerns. As such, the Center is also concerned with social theories and political thought from an analytical and critical perspective, with particular focus on how such theories and ideas have directly projected themselves on academic and political discourse, which in turn gives direction to studies and specialties on the Arab world and its immediate environs.
Bottom line, leaders orchestrate success. Typically, that success is a function of making difficult decisions in complex environments. Beyond that, those leaders have typically demonstrated the ability to surround themselves with talented contributors that collaboratively and strategically evaluate options. By definition, strategic thinking is not planning, and it's not execution. It is a thinking process that enables leaders to continually challenge the status quo in an effort to discover the compelling solutions that are critical to organizational success in today's competitive marketplace. The Thinking Strategically program provides an in-depth overview of the fundamentals and impact of strategic thinking, where participants will explore a strategic thinking process model designed to enhance their ability to define business challenges and explore potential solutions. Participants will learn the characteristics of strategic thinkers as well as the barriers to strategic thinking that must be identified and overcome to be able to create valuable solutions that appeal to a bottom line. Leaders orchestrate success. Typically, that success is a function of making difficult decisions in complex environments. Beyond that, those leaders have typically demonstrated the ability to surround themselves with talented contributors that collaboratively and strategically evaluate options. By definition, strategic thinking is not planning, and it's not execution. It is a thinking process that enables leaders to continually challenge the status quo in an effort to discover the compelling solutions that are critical to organizational success in today's competitive marketplace. The Thinking Strategically program provides an in-depth overview of the fundamentals and impact of strategic thinking, where participants will explore a strategic thinking process model designed to enhance their ability to define business challenges and explore potential solutions. Participants will learn the characteristics of strategic thinkers as well as the barriers to strategic thinking that must be identified and overcome to be able to create valuable solutions that appeal to a diverse group of stakeholders.
My book is on democracy promotion and conflict-based reconstruction, and it examines US democracy promotion in 3 cases: in Bosnia, in Afghanistan and Iraq, and it looks at those during the Clinton and the Bush administrations. So in the first section of the book, it looks at transition theory, and it looks at the role that transition theory plays in developing the theoretical framework of US democracy promotions projects and programs. So that could be the design of independent judiciary or the independent media. And what it does is that the book, the first section, situates the debate within the one-size-fits-all and the case-specific. So my research concludes that US democracy promotion in these 3 cases was predominantly a blueprint approach which fits within the one-size-fits-all, but there were cases where it did respond to local conditions. So in the second section, the book examines the role that US democracy projects and programs play in leading Bosnia, Afghanistan and Iraq towards a consolidated democratic identity or status. And the conclusions are twofold. First of all, the US democracy programs don't provide sufficient attention to the development of a culture that can support democratic institutions. And that's specifically related to the development of civil society and programs that develop an independent media and so forth. Now the second part actually suggests that the democratization programs that are implemented by the US are actually hampering the successful consolidation of the democracy. So kind of inversely and paradoxically, the democratization programs are hampering the process towards democratization. So in the third section, I look at the failure of the US to develop programs that develop a consolidated democracy in Bosnia, Afghanistan and Iraq, and I fit that within a national interests and values framework. And what I suggest is that there is a recognition within the US foreign policy community that the current programs that are being implemented aren't leading towards democratic consolidation. I mean, the evidence is there. You know, we can quite easily turn on the TVs or go onto the internet and read information about how Bosnia has not consolidated democracy, Afghanistan certainly hasn't, and neither has Iraq. Now, we know that information, but then why are programs and projects that the US have used not changed to reflect the need for the development of a supporting liberal culture? And so the question then within the national interest values framework, the question is, okay, so what national interests are there in the US promotion of democracy in Bosnia, in Afghanistan and Iraq? And are those national interests, and by national interests I mean economic and security interests, are those interests being sufficiently fulfilled by the process of democracy or democratization, as opposed to the consolidation of democracy, so that the end goal of having a established and consolidated democratic state? The suggestion is that the US is sufficient, that the US's economic and security interests are being sufficiently fulfilled.
Warfare is based upon deception have entered the lexicon of everyday use in modern societies, whether we know it or not. Lots of our students in strategic studies benefit enormously from their study of Sun Tzu, Machiavelli, Clausewitz and the like, these classical thinkers who are in real terms philosophers of war. They benefit in the manner in which they think, the ways in which they think about the world, and I think you'll find modern business techniques draw extensively upon this. So many of our strategic studies graduates, in addition to more applied careers, if you will, in the military, in think tanks, in ministries of defence and the like, go on to work in business, in economics, banking and high finance. Choice, fundamentally, in a word. There are any number of options available to students. They don't need to be constrained by their original degree choice of military history and the like. They can move outside and they can look at third world politics, they can look at more critical approaches, so-called, they can look at European politics, and then they can come back in the final year and focus on military history in their dissertation and apply a wide range of skills from the courses in which they've taken in the previous 2.5 years. The modules available in first year, most students will do an introductory course called War Strategy Intelligence. Because while many students have studied politics and history and geography and the like at A-level, very few of them will have studied strategic studies, military history and especially intelligence. And what we do in that course, we have 3 or 4 lectures which give a very wide-ranging but in-depth overview of intelligence studies, such as it is constituted in the early part of the 21st century, strategic studies, strategic thought, Clausewitzian thought, and such concepts as nuclear deterrence and proliferation and the like, which are so common in today's world. In part 2, we move on to more specialist courses, but nonetheless some of us still cover a very broad range of material and a very broad chronological time span. We're looking at courses like Warfare Since Waterloo, run by Professor Martin Alexander, who also runs a course on the Vietnam War in history, and we also have courses on special forces in the War on Terror, run by Dr. Alistair Finlan, and for myself, I run courses such as Britain and Ireland in War and Peace since 1800, which encompasses political, military, biographical and social history, and a military history of the Second World War in Europe, 1939 to 1945. The entry requirements for studying this department in the realms of military history, strategic studies, intelligence and the like are 300 EQUIS points. Ordinarily, one of those would be expected to be at least a B grade. We stress the nature of so-called transferable skills in social science and stroke humanities degrees. Students will be able to assess, compute, analyse and present large bodies of evidence, and in this they will pick up a number of transferable skills in the realm of IT, in the realms of note-taking, in the realms of presentation, in the realms of using and presenting evidence and the like. Our graduates go in for a number of careers. It's very broad-based indeed. Obviously many of them go and serve in the military, in the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force and the Army, or in militaries around Europe or around the world, because we have a very global and very cosmopolitan student body. A number of them going to work for government in the civil service, most obviously in the Ministry of Defence and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, but other departments such as the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and the Ministry of Trade are also very popular with our graduates. Journalism is open to our students who have a high standard of numeracy and literacy by the time they graduate, the ability to assess information quickly, the ability to present things in a manageable form. The transferable skills we give our students open up a vast number of career options. Obviously, for those who wish to do more vocational courses afterwards, we have a number of our students who become lawyers, who become accountants, and move on to all kinds of positions within the management and IT industry. Our students like the sense of community we engender here because we have a large number of visiting speakers, and these range from a former Spitfire pilot we had a few years ago, to the commander of British forces on land in Iraq, to the chief correspondent for Reuters news agency. We foster this sense of community deliberately. The students are included in this, and it's a very inclusive department, and we like our students to participate as fully as possible in the research culture. When we have talks, we turn them into social events. We like people to mix, and we want people here to enjoy their studies as well as to benefit from them in financial academic terms.
What's become of our country? Drug lords win over a few for local government units. Piracy returns to the South China Sea corridor. The technology of suicide bombing comes to Manila. We lose the island of Mindanao to separatist forces. The Philippines becomes a failed state. What if we are better governed? The citizenry takes action. Military services become more accountable. The insurgency ends. Respectful coexistence blooms in Mindanao, and a long and lasting peace ensues. Full development takes place at a rapid pace, with benefits of growth shared by all. What if we can start anew? Today, here, with you and those in this room, let's secure the future.
International Council for Human Rights, Arbitration, Politics and Strategic Studies.